Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 5 of Surf Simply's strength training for surfing. So today what we're going to go through is some cardiovascular and plyometric movements that you can do, especially if you hate running and you don't really have the ability to go to a pool. So these are going to be explosive. They're meant to get your heart rate up. Ideally, you want to do these with intervals and have them be as high intensity for that interval as you can, and then take tons of rest after doing these movements. The first movement that we're going to do, one of my favorites, is the jumping jack. So you're going to start with feet together, hands on your hips, and we are going to jump outward and back together. So you end with the movement, your feet are going to be wider than hip distance, your hands are going to be above your head, and then you're going to jump your feet back together. Okay? So back out, back in. As you get more and more comfortable with this movement, you're going to start to add speed. And so you can go ahead and do this in your warm-up. You can do this before you paddle out surfing. But what's great is it's going to get your heart rate up. It's going to make you breathe a little bit heavier. And you're going to start working muscles in your legs, your calves, and getting your shoulders warmed up as well. So that's our first movement, the jumping jack. Second movement we're going to do a little bit more high intensity. They're called tuck jumps. What they are is you're going to be bringing your knees up to your chest, or at least trying to, and you're going to try to explode up as you're doing these and get some air between your feet and the ground. So as I prep for this movement, I'm going to load my legs and try to bring my knees to my chest. So what that looks like, boom, I'm bringing my knees to my chest. All right, so again, can't really show it in slow motion, but I'm going to again crouch down slightly, load my legs, bring my knees up. As you get more and more proficient at these, you then want to start to link them together. So maybe you do 10 seconds of tuck jumps, 20 seconds of tuck jumps, and then make sure you take tons of rest after. You want to make sure you're landing light on your feet so you can immediately move into that second tuck jump as you get more and more proficient at them. So initially, you may start off doing one jump at a time. As you get more and more proficient, start trying to do 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we go. Breathe while you're doing these. So the key factor is you want to try to bring your knees to your chest, breathe, and land softly between each of these. Okay? The third exercise we're going to go through is some foot movement. Okay? So I call it fast feet. You're going to start with your feet so your hips are kind of turned forward, similar to our surf stance. So that front foot's going to be slightly more squared, back foot's going to be slightly pigeon-toed, and you're literally going to rotate your body. Your lower body, upper body's going to stay fairly stable. So again, I'm landing again with that front foot, a little bit more squared. Back foot is going to be kind of pointed inward on that. We're going to rotate again. Okay, so as you get more and more proficient at this, you're going to try to do them a little bit faster. So breathe while you do these. This is going to help your core. It's also going to help build that cardiovascular fitness. Okay, you're then getting that rotation in your spine and trying to bring those feet around so your hips are, the outward hip is moving as well. So those are going to be our third exercise for you. Hopefully that'll go ahead and elevate your heart rate a little bit. Again, you want to try to get that speed up as you're doing those, but start off slow, get that technique down first. The fourth exercise that we're going to go ahead and try out is high knees. So when we do high knees, I tend to put my hands out in front at about a distance that's equal to my stomach or my belly button, you don't need to do that. Some people prefer to use their hands to help bring that knee up. What it looks like though is you're going to bring your knee higher than that 90 degrees, or at least try to, and then you're going to alternate between the two, okay? So what this is going to allow us to do, again, single leg stability, bringing balance into it. As you get more and more proficient at standing on one leg and bringing these knees up, you can then add speed to it, okay? So now I've upped the pace a little bit. We're getting a little bit more explosive. As you get even more proficient at this, you can then start to add a jump to it. And you're going to try to keep those knees coming up as high as they can, and you're going to try to stay in one place as you do this movement. This is going to elevate your heart rate as you start to bring this jump into this movement. So there's 3 different variations to it, depending on where you are at your fitness level. Starting off just at first by getting that balance, bringing that knee up, adding some speed, and then adding that jump. All right, guys, the next exercise we're going to go ahead and work through is called the lateral shuffle. So again, we're going to go from one foot to the other. Starting on that right foot, we're going to jump over to the left. Right foot to the left. So you're literally just going to jump from side to side and adjust the weight onto the opposite foot. This is going to help you out with your balance. So as you saw, I almost lost my balance. So you want to have a slight bend to your knee. To start off, you're going to keep that weight loaded into the right leg, if you so choose to start with your right leg. You're then going to push off that right leg and meet your left leg to that ground. Okay, weight now goes to that left leg, body's in alignment. We're going to jump off that left leg and go to the right. As you start to get more and more proficient at this balance, you can then add speed to this. Again, we want to try to keep that body in alignment. We're going to keep that hip in line with the leg, and you're going to try to explode up as you come through this movement, up. Okay, so again, building that plyometric work into it, getting some explosion out of the legs, building that cardiovascular work, especially if you're wanting to not go for a run. Following along with those lateral jumps, we're going to take it a step smaller. So this is a little bit more of a plyometric exercise. If you can find a line on the ground or use a broom handle or just even have an imaginary line in your head of where you want to jump over, you're going to work on one leg at a time. So we're going to start with our left leg here. And what we're going to do is I have a line that's coming in front of me. I'm going to jump over that line. Okay, I'm not going to drop my right leg down at all. I'm literally going to jump back and forth over this line. Again, we're going to start to build that cardiovascular work because jumping is going to raise that heart rate. We're going to work on balancing on one foot and building that ankle stability and that leg stability too. So at first, what it may look like is you do one jump at a time, rest, next jump. When you land, you want to try to land softly. We do not want to be landing like we are just dropping a ton of bricks onto our leg. That's not going to be good for our joints. Try to land like a cat. Think like you're a cat. So as you get more and more proficient with this, what we can then start to do is add some speed to it. So I'm then going ahead and bringing my ankle joint into it. Now, if speed's not what you're wanting to do, you can add height to it. So maybe we do start to bring in a broom handle or a box or something, and you're going to try to jump over that object with one leg. So what we do with one leg, we got to do with the other. So swapping over to the right leg, we can then do that more explosive movement, jumping up and over. Again, I'm trying to land softly. I can then bring that knee to my chest or attempt to get more height, or I can keep it at that speed and just jump back and forth, trying to get that cardiovascular work out of this movement. Either way, we want to make sure that we're using one foot at a time, landing softly, trying to keep everything in line. The next movement we're going to do, I call them bound jumps. What you're going to work on is an explosive jump forward. Now, I don't have a ton of space here, but if you can go ahead and do it on a road or in an open runway of gym, you can then link these bound jumps together, one right after the next. What I'm going to show you is if you have a mat, you can jump from one side of the mat to the other, turn around, and jump back. So my legs are going to be a little bit wider than hip distance, as they are when I'm doing my squat. I'm going to prepare myself by bringing my knees a little bit bent, start engaging my glutes. I'm then going to jump forward, not up, okay? I'm going to try to reach the other end of this mat. In order to do so, I'm going to swing my arms forward as I perform this jump. So here we go, explode, boom. So I'm going to then turn around and jump back to the other side of the mat. Again, loading my legs, getting the glutes engaged. I'm going to bring my hands forward as I do this jump, propelling myself forward, okay? Ideally, you want to land softly, so that way you can go into your next jump really quickly. And you can start to add a rotation into it if you're going ahead and working with a limited space. Similarly to those single leg jumps, we want to land softly. We want to think like we're a cat. As you start to go ahead and do intervals of these, what you're going to find, your glutes are going to start burning, your heart rate's going to be elevated. Those are all normal things. So that's our bound jump. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope to see you next week, and hopefully you have some success with all of these explosive movements and some interval training with them.